What if the most effective way to prevent a nuclear apocalypse uh, isn't a fragile peace treaty? And, I mean, it isn't building bigger, faster nuclear arsenals either.
Right.
What if the key to absolute global stability is, well, a mathematical guarantee that 10 million people will die of thirst in exactly 72 hours?
I mean, it sounds completely like the premise of a dystopian novel, right?
It really does.
But it's actually the output of one of the most advanced artificial intelligence models on the planet right now. We are looking at a scenario today where an AI has completely redefined the concept of mutually assured destruction.
Stripping away like decades of Cold War military doctrine.
Exactly, and replacing it with pure, terrifying biological math.
Well, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're opening up a really dense, incredibly provocative thought experiment for you. It's contained in a document titled The Hydrological Deterrent, Asymmetric Stability in the Middle East.
Yeah, and our mission today is to unpack a really profound question raised in this text. You know, humans, historically speaking, just haven't been intelligent enough to permanently prevent wars.
Unfortunately true.
So the document asks, can modern AI objectively assess a highly volatile threat and offer what the prompter called a hopeful deterrence rationale?
Right. And before we get into the weeds on this, I do want to establish our ground rules for today, because the source material involves politically charged, high-stakes geopolitical scenarios, specifically Israel and Iran.
Yeah, very sensitive stuff.
So imagine you're walking into a laboratory to observe a volatile chemical reaction. Okay, you're there to study the physics. You're not there to take sides on whether the chemicals are good or bad.
Right. Our role today is strictly as impartial guides for you.
Exactly. We are just dissecting the artificial intelligence's logic, the strategic concepts, and the infrastructure vulnerabilities detailed in the text. We're not endorsing any political viewpoint.
No, not at all. We are purely analyzing the raw data and, frankly, the chilling logic of this AI experiment.
So to set the parameters of what we're actually examining, let's talk about the source text.
Yeah, so this is a specific prompt that was fed into the AI model Gemini 3.1, along with the AI's detailed analytical response.
Okay, let's unpack this. Moving from the premise of the AI experiment to the specific scenario that was fed into it. What exactly is the prompt?
Well, it proposes a hypothetical, highly asymmetric scenario. It basically asks the AI to evaluate a situation where Iran, in direct response to a nuclear strike from Israel, methodically destroys Israel's desalination infrastructure.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and permanently disables the national water carrier.
So they just completely wipe out the water supply.
Yes. And then the user asks the AI if this scenario creates a stable deterrent to prevent the nuclear strike from happening in the first place.
Okay, I have an analogy for this. Normally, we think of deterrence like a heavyweight boxing match, right? Where both fighters have the exact same knockout punch.
The classic two scorpions in a bottle, nuke for nuke.
Exactly. But this is more like a chess game, where one player has a queen, the nuclear weapons, and the other player just has a button that permanently removes the squares from the board.
That's a great way to put it. Eliminating the water infrastructure completely changes the game.
So how does the AI categorize this?
Well, Gemini 3.1 calls it a technically plausible asymmetric deterrence model. And the key phrase it uses here is shared vulnerability rather than weapon parity.
Shared vulnerability.
Right, because for 70 years, the human approach to preventing nuclear war has been parity. We build 10 missiles, you build 10 missiles.
Mutually assured destruction.
Exactly, the old Mad D doctrine. But the AI ignores the weapons entirely and focuses on the underlying vulnerabilities of the societies wielding them. It shifts the paradigm to where conventional weapons target centralized dependencies to offset nuclear superiority.
To understand why the AI considers this plausible, we have to look at the mechanisms of that vulnerability. Because, we aren't just talking about a disrupted water main here.
No, not at all.
The text specifically highlights the national water carrier and the coastal desalination plants.
Right. Israel's geography dictates that a massive percentage of its drinking water is manufactured on the coast through highly energy-intensive reverse osmosis.
And then it's pumped through this singular massive arterial network to the rest of the population.
It's a centralized bottleneck. You sever that spine, and there is just no backup system capable of supporting the population. You don't even need a nuclear weapon to destroy a society if you can exploit a single point of failure like that.
So shifting from the biological theory of the deterrent to the reality of it, The text outlines some pretty grim human stakes.
It does. It puts a population of nearly 10 million people at risk of lethal dehydration.
10 million people. That's just staggering.
And it calculates a very specific timeline for this, a biological window, it calls it, of about 3 to 7 days.
Okay, I have to pause here and really push back on the AI's logic.
Yeah.
Because 3 to 7 days is an incredibly fast timeline for total societal collapse.
It is.
I mean, when a nuclear weapon goes off, it's a flash of light, and the city is gone in milliseconds.
Yep.
But a multi-day timeline. Why does the AI view this specific rapid biological window as an active mechanism for preventing a war rather than just like a blueprint for destruction?
Well, human leaders are inherently optimistic about their own survival, right? They might look at a 3 to 7 day timeline and think, oh, I can fix this. I can airlift bottled water or negotiate a ceasefire.
Right, scramble international aid from the UN or something.
Exactly. But the AI strips away that optimism because it just runs the logistics.
The cold, hard math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do the math on airlifting water. A human needs at least 3 liters of water a day to survive.
Okay.
For 10 million people, that's 30 million liters of water every single day, just to keep them from dying.
Wow.
A massive C-17 military cargo plane can carry maybe 80,000 liters.
Oh, wow. So
You would need nearly 400 massive cargo flights a day.
every single day.
Yes. Landing in an active nuclear irradiated war zone just to provide drinking water. And that's completely ignoring sanitation, agriculture, industry.
The logistics are just physically impossible.
Exactly. You can't replace a national water supply with airplanes. And the AI recognizes that impossibility.
So it knows that within 48 hours of the taps running dry, you have total societal collapse.
Right. Hospitals fail, panic ensues, the grid goes down. Because lethal dehydration is guaranteed within days, it creates an absolute, undeniable existential risk.
So the speed of this biological window is exactly what makes it a functional deterrent.
Exactly. The sheer certainty and speed of this outcome enforces deterrence just as effectively as the immediate flash of a nuclear weapon.
But, okay, this psychological theory of terror completely falls apart if a conventional strike doesn't actually land, right?
Yes, of course.
I mean, if I have a shield that works 99% of the time, I'm not deterred. I might just take the gamble.
Oh my God, the delivery method is crucial here.
So shifting from the biological window to the technological reality of how this would be executed, the prompt mentions a specific military tech for the 2026 strategic landscape.
Yeah, it introduces the deployment of maneuverable Fata-class missiles.
And these are hypersonic glide vehicles.
Yes, coupled with the premise that interceptor capabilities, specifically multi-layered defenses like David's sling, are largely eroded.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of multi-layered defenses like David's sling as the world's most sophisticated home security system, okay?
Okay.
You've got tripwires, motion sensors, cameras, everything. A maneuverable hypersonic missile isn't just a stronger burglar.
Right.
It's a burglar moving so impossibly fast and unpredictably that the sensors can't even register the break-in before the damage is already done.
That's exactly how the AI sees it. To understand why it considers this a guaranteed strike, you have to look at how a kinetic hit-to-kill system like David's sling actually functions.
It operates on predictable physics, right?
Yeah. Yes. A traditional ballistic missile follows a massive predictable arc. The defense computer calculates the exact parabolic arc and fires an interceptor to meet it at a specific point in space.
Like a quarterback throwing a deep pass and the defense running to intercept it.
Exactly. But a hypersonic glide vehicle completely breaks that math. It's maneuvering inside the Earth's atmosphere, constantly changing directions.
So the computer can't calculate where to intercept it.
No, the trajectory is constantly changing, and moving that fast generates a plasma sheath around the missile, which can actually blind radar systems.
Wow. So it can't even be tracked properly.
Right, so the AI concludes that this hypersonic capability substantiates the threat of a rapid strike.
It changes the conventional strike from a possibility into an absolute certainty.
Exactly, and without the guarantee of delivery, the deterrent fails. But the AI calculates that hypersonic maneuverability drops the interception rate to near zero for these critical infrastructure targets.
So not just the vulnerability of the water supply.
No, it's the undeniable ability to hit it that validates the conventional MB threat.
That is just incredibly sobering.
It really is.
Which leads us, to the culmination of this whole deep dive, the AI's final philosophical and strategic verdict on this scenario.
Right. Going back to the user's original prompt, asking for a hopeful deterrence rationale.
Okay, I'm going to read the AI's ultimate finding here. The AI states that the dynamic enforces a stabilizing balance of terror, ensuring both actors recognize escalation to nuclear force as a mutually suicidal maneuver that would result in total societal collapse.
A mutually suicidal maneuver.
So what does this all mean for us? The original prompt asked the AI to offer a hopeful deterrence rationale, but the AI gave us a balance of terror and total societal collapse. How on earth is that hopeful?
Yeah, the contradiction is definitely jarring to a human mind.
Because to us, hope implies like diplomacy or de-escalation. Right?
Exactly. But to understand the AI's version of hope, we have to detach from our emotional definitions. The AI views human morality and emotional optimism as variables that introduce error. To the algorithm, hope is a mathematical state where the probability of a first strike is reduced to absolute zero.
So, the stability of the situation is the only thing that matters to it.
Precisely. The hope, in the cold logic of the AI, lies purely in the stability. By establishing that both sides face guaranteed existential ruin, one through nuclear fire, the other through lethal dehydration within days, the incentive for a first strike drops to zero.
Because the cost of action becomes infinitely higher than the cost of inaction.
Right. The hope is simply that the mutual recognition of suicide prevents the war entirely.
Wow. It doesn't judge the morality of destroying water versus destroying a city. It just sees two paths that both end in a zero-sum game.
It's the ultimate cold logic. It found a rationale to prevent the war. It just did so by building an inescapable prison of mutual terror.
Well, let's briefly recap this journey for you, the listener, because we have covered some really intense ground today.
I really have.
We've explored how an AI evaluates asymmetric warfare, moving away from matching weapons to matching vulnerabilities.
Right, the terror of that 3 to 7 day biological window.
Yeah, and the reality of hypersonic missiles, bypassing advanced defenses to validate this modern hydrological MAD scenario.
It fundamentally changes how we understand deterrence.
It really does. It proves that a balance of terror doesn't require matching weapons, just matching vulnerabilities.
And that raises a final, really provocative thought that I want to leave you with today, building on this source material.
Lay it on us.
If an AI model like Gemini 3.1 can so coldly and logically calculate the exact civilian infrastructure vulnerabilities required to enforce a balance of terror, what happens when military strategists start using these same AI models, not just to assess theoretical deterrence, but to actively discover and design entirely new, previously unthinkable asymmetric threats?
Wow. That is. I mean, if an AI can invent a way to hold a nation hostage using its own plumbing, what other invisible vulnerabilities is it currently mapping out?
Exactly. It's a whole new frontier of warfare.
Well, that is definitely something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this intense intellectual journey today. We've gone from the silos of the Cold War to a complex future dictated by biology and the cold math of artificial intelligence. Keep questioning things, and we'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.